Alright, it's gonna take a little bit.
Else statements for 0 when you're dividing by 0.
I did. It's streaming right now. It's gonna take 30 seconds for it to get ready.
Like if you have a fraction,
It's good? Alright, so I'm gonna switch backgrounds. 1 second.
That's an error.
No, tell me how it's gonna look like on there.
So Benjamin.
Alright, so but did it switch backgrounds and then the background thing is still working? The ACM logos? Awesome, cool. Nice.
Quality's pretty bad.
I mean, I have to do it back up. It's okay. We basically will be covering all Windows, Mac, and Linux.
But like I was asking about the internet.
Oh my god, yeah.
If you're on one, like if I'm on the internet connected automatically, I can't access it for everyone.
You should be able to.
Should, right?
Yeah.
You should be able to.
I mean, are you
Can I get it? I just started to
like
get
your
philosophy.
access
Why
to the
aren't you getting?
No, I because I have Ubuntu and I have the Windows 10.
Alright.
Because I did because I have Rails and everything on
You're
it.
not gonna stay.
Alright, so you have environments. Oh yeah, I mean, was it Oh yeah, so Windows is your host.
There's a ice that I got for $8. Really? Yeah. Jesus. Yeah.
But I'm not give me a second.
It's the personality that counts. And then you're gonna get. It's like one of those like business laptops.
Yeah, that's what I thought you rented that one out of the library.
Nah. It actually really it has a 7200 RTM hard drive. Even has dedicated graphics.
Forget it. It's not around.
There's a thing on machine called Commander. You have Unix commands. So what I do Yeah. Okay, so like the thing is that like for Windows, you need something kind of async. Basically, it's like
No, what are you
like
doing?
you know we're gonna make this one
Okay, so let's go click on the next highlight. Press Alt.
I should
Whatever you press, do it. I think it's Alt and Alt. Okay, Alt and Alt. Okay, you need to select this. And by the way, that
Yeah, so you have to download Python and you just call Python.
right click and say start reset.
So
Alt, enter. That's gonna send it down. Now this like in memory. And by the way, function is take an int
you learn one, so you learn
to pull in to in.
Yeah.
Alright, so now just type in the function cd, right? That's the function.
It looks fine, right? Alright, awesome. Cool.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright, start promoting the stream. Because we're technically live.
Now you're gonna take out of it and save one. Because one is the only person that can do it. Go on.
Still going on.
You guys came for the ACM meeting. You're in the right place. We're about to be starting soon in 10 minutes. We're on time. Awesome. If you guys want to, you guys can stay back here or you can move closer. If you guys are expecting to program or anything, bring out your laptops, stuff like that. Really important. And we'll get started soon.
You want to be closer?
Yeah, I know it's just. I'll be honest. The room reservations, like the classroom. We got this. It's cool. Better than having no room.
But remember I thought it was mine already. Are you gonna work on Windows today? Just if you need my help, just let me know.
We'll go tomorrow because I don't have class tomorrow, so I wait all the time to it. And right now, I'm just ending at sharp, so I want to keep going on that sharp.
Okay, good.
I want to get some of it
I
done.
seriously do not. See if you can think of a way to kind of. I was brainstorming about it. Yeah, I'm gonna. Your mind is so small. Your brain capacity is
I know.
like this.
IQ going down.
It's like
What is it about?
setting up your environment. Yeah, for an environment.
Let me see. Node. Oh,
I think they're gonna do Node, GitHub,
Express. They're like
Express.
that's a very long ACMI.
Yeah, no, it's a godsend, to be honest.
Like because technically,
Yeah, I kind of apologize for the lack of chairs.
Technically, what is
Because
it that we need to do? We need to do one.
convenient room for everybody sitting down.
Two,
Trying to think of another
and
alternative.
turn this into 1,2, comma 2,4. Right? Then this takes two values. Takes the triple. Right? If my this is empty.
All right, so before we start, I just want to ask you guys a question. You guys can see that text very well right now, large enough? We're gonna need it larger.
Es un poco para entrar.
All right. All right, cool. Oh yeah, and the sign-in sheet. That's also. Yeah. Also, yeah. Before we get started, you can make.
So if you're here for the workshop, there's a sign-in sheet going around. Just put your name, email, and packet ID in, so we know that you're attending it for this workshop.
If there's an empty list,
I mean, I.
if
Maybe a
there's
little
no
blue would have worked out.
empty list,
I wonder if I put it in the bottom of it.
if you do this, right, you can actually do. I need two lists now, right? I need the one. Who's the one? X. Right? And who's gonna be my second person? One. Access would be my second person. But technically, what I want to do. Oh, I think I have it. I think I have it.
You're going to be the main session. But then, during the moment when you're
Just whatever, and an empty list.
I'll go talk.
Okay.
I mean, it's like a conversation.
This, whatever. Hold on, let me try to test this and see. If it's whatever,
I mean, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting on Dale. I mean, I can go on.
He's going to be in a bit late.
All right, so.
Nah,
That's cool.
It's not what you got in this.
I'll have to
Right?
Ah, right.
Now, if I have an end value and I have some list which I can divide in x, Dell and LS. Then this is what I'm gonna do.
You should also post
Wait, what is this?
file.
It's hard to separate between this and
Oh,
the
yeah.
So
So like upload the PDF.
simple comment. Yep. Okay, so I want
Yo, what's up? You want to get started?
the L body, the comments,
4 on the dot. All right, cool.
Or for one. Because
change class,
No, man, I don't believe in that. We've been like similar.
and
Yeah, sorry about the chair situation. Either you have to say crisscross applesauce or yeah.
and I'm also gonna pass LS.
Not to self, just bring chairs.
Two different
so I'll start
so
Workshop.
workshop semester. It's about
Dude,
Git
workshop.
Started.
Do that.
Also, I think about that was the
I look like an
and
No,
then
it's
the
like shield.
second part of it. So technically, I'm saying okay,
All right.
okay. I'll read it.
there's an error.
Whenever you're ready. I'll just stand here.
Oh my god.
Hello everyone. If you're here for the workshop, this is the ACM workshop for Git Started with Dev Tooling. Today is all about just getting you started with installing a lot of important stuff, including Python, Haskell, Git, Node. We're going over the very basics of these technologies. The workshops we're doing this upcoming semester will go more in depth with each technology. But today we're only going over the very rough basics of each, and we're just going to get you installed. Angelo will be the main presenter, but I and Kenneth will be moving around to help you guys installing stuff. If you guys have problems installing stuff. By the way, Kenneth here does a lot of open source libraries in JavaScript. He also contributes a lot to a lot of Facebook open source libraries. So he'll be doing a future workshop this upcoming semester about web development with JavaScript and making web applications with JavaScript. So this is also a nice time to kind of introduce him. So with that said, I'm going to hand over the floor to Angelo so you can get started.
Thank you, everybody. All right, so all right, welcome to ACM. If you guys are new here, we're the Association of Computing Machinery. We're the foremost tech club here on FIU. If you haven't met me already, it is I, Angelo Saracino, secretary here at ACM, and I do not work for Apple. You can follow me on Twitter and follow me on GitHub at ndneighbor. All right, so first things first is we're going to go over some basic things. So if you're new here, ACM is all about turning you from Kevin Gates to Bill Gates. So you finally have something to do with those two phones. And just to remind you of your upcoming events that are going to be happening, we have our internship panel with interns coming back from Apple, Uber, Bright House, Home Depot, and State Farm. There you can actually ask some questions, how the interview process is like, and you can even tell them, how did the iPhone 7 look like before it released. Then we have our second general meeting, pretty basic stuff. We hang out, get some food, and then maybe make fun of myself. And then on the 6th of October, we have, time is tentative, and I apologize for that. It's probably not going to be at 4 p.m. It's up, and probably not going to be here. But we have Juan Alvarado. You probably might know him as the organizer of Mango Hacks. Going to be giving a workshop on how to create your own personal website so you can start getting your resume out there and getting your internet presence. Awesome. And before we start, just a small reminder of hackathons that are going to be happening. Please apply. So HackGT, we got a bus. So we're going to be driving straight to Atlanta, and you can maybe visit a few people that you've been claiming to talk to over there. Registration is closed. However, if you do want to register for HackGT, we have a wait list. So some people are unfortunately not going to be able to make it, like myself. So we're giving up our bus spots for people who can't go. In addition, we are also coordinating a travel group on Facebook. So it's called FIU Hackers. We'll give you more information on our Facebook group, and you can just ask any of us around here. Probably we would also know what's happening. The next two are Florida hackathons happening right here. Embry-Riddle is in Daytona, sunny Daytona, Florida. It's also an aeronautical university, so if you ever want to lick an airplane for the sake of it, you can. And then on the 22nd of October, we have it right here in our backyard in Miami-Dade College, Wilson campus, MIA Game Jam. So if you ever wanted to make your own game in 24 hours, you can and will do it. We actually have quite a few people from Unreal, and Magic Leap may be there. So you can talk to a few people from there. Anyone here heard of Magic Leap? Like the augmented reality, trippy type thing? Awesome stuff. All right, so let's get to it. So laptops out. If you guys don't have a laptop, we have all of our stuff posted. Oh, higher? The type of volume? Too loud or too increase? I'm screaming already, right? You guys are probably like suffering right now, right? Yeah. I'm sorry. I wish I had a microphone system, but like you guys hear me all right, right? Like, cool, awesome. So if you guys do not have a laptop, we have all our resources posted online at our website and our Facebook pages. So if you guys just want to listen in and see what happens, this is well documented. Thanks to Kenneth and myself and Juan, we were able to get awesome documentation. But we'll get into that later. So begins the workshop. So why are you here and why are we having this workshop? So developer environments are super important. So important that you can waste hours and hours of valuable time setting them up. So why not we just do it now so we just get it over with. So all of these logos and technologies that we have discussed are industry standard. So if you want to get a good, well-paying job at a very reputable company, most likely you're not going to be using NetBeans. You're going to be using Atom, Sublime Text, maybe even IntelliJ. And then all of the associated languages with these are industry standard. If you're going to be doing machine learning, you have to know Python. If you want to make web applications, you have no choice but to use JavaScript and maybe some few languages. But JavaScript is the main player. And then you have to like live and breathe GitHub. Open source is the backbone of computer science, and as soon as you get started working with it, you'll be one step closer to becoming a better developer. All right, so we'll get started. One text editor that I really push a lot is Atom. So you can download it at atom.io, atom.io. And you can, once you download it, it is a text editor. And here's the reason why we advocate using a text editor rather than an integrated development environment, or IDE. So many times your projects go in from language to different language. So sometimes or some days you might be working in JavaScript. You might have to play around with a JSON file or two, set up your databases. A lot of really complex stuff that may happen. IDEs are good for one thing and one thing only. Usually for one language, and you run everything within that language. Your tests, your edge cases, any sort of thing stays there. But Atom is very versatile. It's also super customizable. You can change the theme. You can make it do really cool stuff, as in like, being able to change all the words at once. You have a mini map. I'll show you guys what's up about it. So I'm going to go show you actually Atom. And I have it open up here. So you have your project view on the left, and then you have your tabs of what files you have open. So I have a project here, which is our example one, which is on our GitHub. And so if my computer wasn't chugging so slowly because it's doing 100 things at once, you notice that there's also different text highlighting no matter what file you use for it. So if you're working in JavaScript or Python or Haskell, we'll get into that, you basically have the ability to jump between different languages very easily. And then the feature it comes with is great. So we're going to get, this is Alistair's phone right over there. Hold on. I was just about to let it die. Just hang up on the person. Yeah, oh, that's important. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. All right, sorry. And we're back. So this is the website, so you can download it. It is available across all platforms. So just a show of hands, I want to get a different feel of what operating systems are represented here. So I'll get over with the most embarrassing one. Who here has Linux? All right, loud and proud. All right, so it's available for Linux. Mac, our Mac users. All right, yeah. And then our Windows users. All right, awesome, as expected. So Atom is also basically like cross-platform. So unlike other options out there, you can use it no matter where you have it. Yeah, been master race still. Anyway, so once you download Atom, and you guys should be downloading Atom, we'll help you out if you guys don't know what's up. It'll install, and then you can get working through it. So anyone here do not have Atom or needs help installing it? It's pretty simple. All right. We'll move on to the next one then. Awesome. All right. So this is Git. All right. So who here started off programming one, giving code examples by USB to your friends? Yeah, that was me. All right. You don't have to do that anymore. We have Git. All right, so Git is what we call source control or subversion control. So what we have is we have repos of files that we can increment changes to and save them, and then have like almost like a time, like storage or event storage of what happens. So as I'm working on my file and as I'm saving it, I can actually go back and revert a save if I accidentally like blow up something. Most likely that doesn't really happen, but if it does, it's really cool to have that features there. So for our Windows users, usually you guys have to like install Git for Windows, and you have a client that does a bunch of 100 different things. We have an integrated solution that is made called Commander, spelled CMDER, and what it does is that it allows you to use Unix functions on Windows. It's really great because whenever you go to workshops like these, usually it's a developer with a Mac or a Linux laptop out there, and that developer is just, like LS, CD, that type of stuff. And that stuff, those commands are not available on Windows. You have to like learn the Windows-specific commands. With Commander, you don't have to do that anymore. It has a Git client built in. It has an SSH client built in. There's lots of stuff built in for you. And it also looks very attractive in terms of terminals go. So this is actually like something that you guys have to install. Yes. Full version, sorry. Yeah, so you should install the full version of Commander. It comes with the Git client, comes with the SSH client, and it comes with the terminal. And it allows you to use Unix commands, as I previously aforementioned said. So if you go on the website, and I have it right here, you want to download the full one. And then since you're downloading a zip file, probably you might want to either pin that to your start once you extract it, or manually go into program files and put it in a nice spot in your computer. You're going to be using this a lot. The terminal is the backbone of computer science, aside from the open source comment I made. You're going to be navigating folders. You're going to be Git initting. You're going to be doing a lot of things within the terminal because the GUI is just slower. So once you guys have that installed, we're going to be able to move forward. But we're going to have people helping you out getting that installed if you guys need it. For our Unix and our Linux people, and well, Unix is also Mac, usually Git is already included. So all you have to do is just Git init. If you do not have it installed or it's not updated, we can help you out with that. So we'll get into that later in our demo. But right now we want to make sure that our Windows users are able to follow on with this workshop. So anyone else need help or nah? All right, we're all good? Because we're going to start doing some coding, so like I want to make sure everyone's able to follow along if you guys want to. It's unzipping? All right, cool. Awesome. Yes?
Just to note, you said earlier that if you don't have a laptop now, the full
Yeah, so everything is on a Git repo, and we have a link on our Facebook page. So if you want to follow along with this later, you will be able to, yeah. Cool. Yes. So like for now, just extract it, and then you, oh sorry, that was a question.
No, yeah, you got it.
No, yeah, so once you extract it, just like put it and like run it, and then it'll run like a normal like application.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I was going to put it in the program file.
Oh, awesome, yeah, yeah, cool. So for most of us here, this is probably going to be our home for a long while. So this is the terminal. You can do cool things in terminal, like list your files, which is ls. You can change directory, cd, and then you put the name of the folder. All right, so I have my projects here. And then what I can do is also change directory into Git Started. And you don't have to follow me along in this one because I have my own files and folders. It would be weird if you guys had all my stuff. So basically, that's a simple, like usage of Unix commands to navigate your file system. And if you do cd dot dot, it goes back one. If you do cd and then like just a empty backslash, it takes you to the like main root where like everything is. It's kind of cool. Let me get back to where I need to be. All right, awesome. So now we want to make sure that everyone here is also able to download the same project files I have. So I'm going to explain how you guys are able to do that. So that's because of GitHub. GitHub allows us to do this. If you guys have our Facebook page open, you can get literally the repo where we have everything. If you don't have that yet, we'll teach you guys how to do that right now. So GitHub is a website that I was preaching about like in our first meeting that is really important. So you create an account in GitHub and you're able to save all the work that you did on your computer and then upload it online through things called repositories. So in these repositories, you're actually able to have an event system where as you're committing your changes of your code, other people can see what you're doing as well and then collaborate with you in these projects. So usually big open source projects has around probably like 20 to 50 people working on the same thing. Sometimes smaller, sometimes greater, depending on how large the dev is. However, usually what's going to happen is that you're going to like either go to Hackathon, you're going to submit your projects using this website. So if you do not have an account, now would be a very good time to make an account and then quickly think of a good name, how to represent yourself online. So if we go, so like we have, for example, an organization page where we post all our stuff. If I just refresh it, everything should be there. Yeah, awesome, yeah. And then if you create an account, which you should, you press sign up and then you get your account created. So who here does not have a GitHub account? All right, now would be a good time to make one. If you do not have your laptops, it's cool, do it later. But in order for us to continue this tutorial, we're gonna need you guys to get an account. And then if you're gonna have 2 people, like helping them out because they're gonna need to log into the terminal later on, so you can probably go to them. I mean, like walk to them. All right, so in order to get to our organization page, it is github.com and just slash, I want to make sure I get this right, ACM FIU. Yeah, so that is the link in order to get to our organization page. So once you're here, we're going to do something called cloning a repository. So are you guys able to get started right here? All right. All right, and then you're going to do something clone. So here we have a basically a URL pointing to this repository. If my touchpad wasn't being funny, there we go. So we're going to go in our terminal, and we're going to find a good place to put this repository. So I'm going to, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to create a directory, mkdir, mkdir, and then it basically makes a directory within this area. So I'm just going to call this tutorial. All right, and then within this folder, I'm going to do git clone. All right, you guys can see that? Can you? It's all the way down there. I'm going to bring it up later on. Git clone, and then copy and paste the link. And then what's going to happen is that it's going to create a folder called Git Started, and then it's going to take all my files and put it on the computer. And all the changes that we've done, you can access it. So we'll explain that a little bit later. But now you guys are able to basically copy projects from the internet and then actually start running them on your own, which is really interesting and really cool. So I'm going to try to do my best to bring it up as much as possible so you guys can see it. 1 second. Oh, it's not iTurn. All right, so you guys, all right, so hopefully you guys are able to see the command git clone and then the URL, and then you do it in whatever folder that you do it. So keep in mind, whenever you clone a repository, it creates a new folder with the project contents inside of it. So if you happen to be in C, if you guys are for Windows users, and you're cloning this, it's going to clone it directly in your root, in your hard drive. Excuse me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm Just learning about Linux command and whatnot, but didn't you have to do a CD tutorial to change the directory into the tutorial folder?
All right, so remember when I was explaining the Unix commands, you do cd ... to go back a folder. So I went back to my home folder basically.
Yeah, but you made a folder for tutorial.
Yeah, so I put it just for this, so I can put it like in one box and then.
But then you didn't change the directory into that, so your clone you just downloaded it into.
Yeah. Oh, true. You're right. Actually, that is it. That is nice. Thank you for catching that.
I will make sure.
No, you're right. Yeah. Actually, all right, so yeah, whenever you make a directory, it doesn't like change into directory once you make it. So I forgot about that. Yeah. So yeah. So I'll have to change directory into tutorial, and then I'll clone what I did. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. By the way, it would have been very embarrassing when I went into it and didn't find anything. Thank you for also paying attention. Awesome. All right. Cool. So we're in tutorial. I'm going to list files to show you what we have in here. We have our Git Started repository there. And we are going to change directory in there. I'm not sure if Commander does this. I'm pretty sure. But if you press Tab and, yeah, you're able to autocomplete. So you can just type GI and then. Yeah. Yeah. Really cool. Save time. Just press Tab when you want to autocomplete. All right, so now we're back into our repository, and now we're going to show you using Atom to open up the project that you just cloned right now. So let's get to it. So assuming Atom wants to be responsive, I'm going to close this right now. I'm going to start it up fresh. Oh, wow. Yeah.
You just quit.
No, streaming and like all the applications are. New MacBook Pro when?
Yeah, I'm waiting.
All right, cool. And then you can. So forgive me while my Atom takes quite a bit. But streaming software kind of tends to do this on any computer while you're recording it. All right. So while you guys your Atoms are probably open right now, you guys can find in your computer where you found that repository they just cloned, and then you're going to click the folder, so like Get Started, and you're going to open that folder. And it's going to open all the files that you just cloned. And right now, I am regretting everything.
I wish there was some way where I could that I could open I was there.
Yeah. I mean,
You can go talk about.
All right, cool. All right, so all of you, are you guys already cloned in to? Sorry, not cloned in. You guys open the project folder and you guys see all the contents that we have. No. So you guys should see 3 folders within it and a README. You have a Haskell example, Python example, and Node example. And then in the above those folders, there's a README. So you can actually see the documentation that we did. So if you ever forget that I spoke to you guys of how to open those files, you can check the README and it has documentation, so you actually can write it on your own. So you guys are familiar with Atom, and you guys open up files and stuff like that. We're gonna get moving as soon as my computer wants to like not listen to me or something. Let's open up activity.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna do that. Just keep talking.
All right, cool. All right, so then next thing is going to be Node.js. So this is where we start like running applications on the computer and then start installing prerequisites for a developer environment. So Node.js, you can download at nodejs.org for our Windows. For our Windows users, you would have to download an installer. For Mac, you can do. For Linux, you can use something called aptitude-get. Not Mac. Linux, you can use aptitude-get. And then Mac has, I believe, a special installation method that I'm not sure how it is right now. I'm just trying to.
What for? I'm sorry.
This is for Node.js. So this is a JavaScript runtime that allows you to run JavaScript code on the server. So a brief history of like web development. Sorry to steal Kenneth's thunder. But before around 2008, a lot of our server-side applications were written in PHP. But PHP had this really big problem. First of all, it runs anything that you throw at it, so you can have really bad code working for some reason. And then if you wanted to have a friend work on it with you, that friend would want to like rip out his hair. In addition, also there was a language used for front-end JavaScript, basically, where you can control document object model elements. So like the different like divs on the screen whenever you go into a web page is controlled by JavaScript. So this guy named Ryan Dahl was like, what if I can use this concept and then apply it on the server side to make fast applications? And then so the Node project was born. So it runs so like most languages have a runtime that they run language under. So like Java, it compiles onto Java machine code and it runs in the JVM. There is something called the V8 engine that's made by folks at Google in the open source project of Chromium, and it runs off of that runtime in a server, and you get to like do really cool things like being able to create logins, track your friends that you make on a web application, do APIs. So we haven't really gotten into like HTTP stuff yet, but whenever you guys go into a web page, there's a bunch of internet traffic that's happening below the surface that you guys do not see. So APIs have things called routes. So whenever you go into a web page and you log in, you're actually hitting like /login. There's a route that does all the application logic. So we see a web page, but the server is doing a bunch of things in the background to make sure that the application actually works. So if I'm creating a new user, I might have a route called create, and I'll do something called a post request. So I'm sending information from the client to the server using post. If I want to retrieve data, I use something called a get. So APIs and applications that we use are built off of these simple concepts to create web applications. So for our Windows users, are you guys on nodejs.org installing Node? All right, you want to install the LTS 4.5 for now? All right, nodejs.org, NODEJS.
I'm sorry, you think it's the LTS, right?
LTS, yeah. Well, I mean, both versions will work fine, but like for now, because usually we'll tell you to install something called Node Version Manager, because new releases are always releasing all the time. But the LTS is something we call the long-term stable release, LTS, where they try to not break as much things as possible. Yeah. So once we are able to if you're one-on-one with us, or at Hackathon, you have to work with a certain version. You do something called NVM Node, and we'll get into like the whole package managers and stuff like that. But right now, I was just debugging my computer right now. You know, like the day like Adam has his day to shine, it just doesn't. So. Yeah.
That's the same.
All right, cool. So anyone here having difficulty installing Node.js or anything like that? I know for a Mac I didn't give that concise instructions. I'm kind of hoping I get my laptop back by then, but if not, we'll just move on. So in Node, you probably will have something in Windows called a separate application to run Node stuff. However, since you guys installed Commander can actually access programs installed globally on your computer. So all you have to do is just press Node and then whatever file that you were aiming for, and it can run it. So in the repo that you cloned, I actually have a Node project already in there. So in the terminal, you can actually just go into the folder, Node example. So you want to change directory in there. So assuming you guys are in the Git repository, just do cd node example. And do this after when you installed Node. You can type in node wait space webserver.js, and it will run an example web server. You can actually go to localhost port 8080 and it'll work. Oh, cool, it's back up. Thank you. So here's our web server here, and I'll explain what's happening soon. CD is change directory, yeah. You do Node. Sorry, let me see where you're at. So you're right there. Cool, awesome. So you install Node. All right, so you Node and space. All right, so web server.js. Yeah, you might have to. Yeah, you might have to restart Commander once you install the application. So to explain what's happening, if you're typing in Node and nothing's happening after you installed Node. All right, so terminals have a configuration that they run every single time when a new instance is started. So for example, if I have a bash configuration, which is what the terminal is called on Linux and Unix, it won't run until I close it and open it again. So for global applications, in some cases, especially on Windows, you have to turn it off and turn it back on again. So it's a stereotype, well, it's true. So I'm going to run our Node example. And then if you're on Mac, if you don't have Node installed, we can help you out with that. All right. So it opens a port that says server listening on http://localhost port 8080. I want you guys to type in that web address into your own web browsers and see what happens. So you guys should get a very basic web page. It works, right? Awesome. So I'm going to explain what's happening right now. So Node, basically, like I said, is a runtime. So it runs JavaScript on the server. What's happening is that Node has a bunch of libraries similar to Java that you have to import in order for certain functions to work. So I have a variable HTTP, and I'm requiring the HTTP module from Node to make it work. Then I have a constant, because I hate magic numbers, and I have a function that handles requests and responses. So HTTP, remember I was talking about APIs? I can request data, and then I should expect a response. So this server is handling that. So whenever the code basically tells me if someone, a web browser, visits my website, I'm going to tell them it works and the path is hit. And then I have a server.listen function that basically tells me that the server is running. So if I don't have that code, basically what's going to happen is that whenever I start it, it's not going to tell me that it's working. So I need to tell the system administrator that the server is listening on it. And yeah. So if you guys are not able to start it up to Node, that's an installation issue. Usually rarely ever admit that my code is bug-free. It is bug-free. If you guys need help installing Node, again, we're here to help you out. But yeah, so that's basically our Node example. If you want to create much more cool applications, you use something called NPM, or the Node Package Manager, to install packages made by other developers like yourselves that add more functionality to it. So if I wanted to add encryption, if I wanted to use frameworks, yes? Oh, all right, cool. You want to use frameworks? You can go on npmjs.org and start doing that, but that's for a later workshop. Again, I don't want to steal Kenneth's thunder. All right, all right, so I feel that my presentation is gone. All right, so that's fine. So all right, so in order to stop the process, you press Control-C. And then I'm going to cd, change directory, method above it, and then we're back into our project. All right, awesome. So we're ready for Python. Yeah, woo! All right, so Python is great for machine learning, math, and if you want to make fintech applications. So if you want to make a stock trading bot, Python will probably be the best way how you can automatically make money. Python is really useful because it is something called an interpreted language. Basically, most languages compile down to machine code, but Python has a runtime that runs its code without having to take that much time to run it. It's really useful for math situations because the syntax of Python is very easy to read. It's so easy to read, I'm pretty sure you guys can read this. So I'm going to go open up my Python example. All right. So it's pretty easy to understand. So if you guys have programmed in Java, you notice that the language is very verbose. You have to write a bunch of stuff in order to make simple things work, like system out print. That's too long. Python is very simple, and it actually uses indentations to indicate progression of functions. So I'm just going to explain to you what this code does. I'm going to take an input of a number, and if I try to put strings or anything, it's not going to work. I'm expecting an integer. Then I'm checking if it's greater than 1. And then if it's greater than 1, I'm going to check for factors. It runs basically a modulus, and then compares it. Compares it to 0. And then once it's done with finding the factors, it breaks it. If not, it's going to tell me it's a prime number, because prime numbers only have factors of 1 in themselves. And then I have our conditionals right here. So else is a prime number, and if not any of this, it's going to print out it's not a prime number. In order for this code to work, however, you need to download Python. So if you go to python.org/downloads, you will be able to install it on your computer. Macs have Python pre-included already. If you're on Linux, you have to install it as well. We're here to help you out install that runtime. And if you guys forgive me, I'm going to go start writing the code so I show you how it works, and you guys can write it on yourselves. Yes?
3.7 or 3.5?
You want the latest version. Python 3, sorry. Verify. All right, so I'll explain the whole split between Python 2 and Python 3. So languages have versions and progressions. So if you're in your Programming 1 or Programming 2 class, we use a version of Java called usually Java 7 or Java 6. And as languages iterate, they have more improvements to these languages. Sometimes they break features in other languages. Like if you're a Swift developer, ++ is deprecated in Swift 3. And Swift 4, I'm pretty sure the 3.5 million jack is gone too. Anyway, sorry? Yeah, the latest version of Python. I'm explaining the reason why you're not getting Python 2. So as languages evolve, there are breaking features of certain languages. So things will get faster, but in order for things to get faster, old stuff has to be left behind. So Python 2 applications were very popular, so they still maintain Python 2 applications, but if I want to get certain features of Python 2 to make it work on Python 3, it would not work. So whenever you have backwards incompatible changes, a new version is created. So that's why certain applications from Node 6 won't work on Node 4. But don't worry about that. Our goal is just to write code, and we'll get into that stuff later. So I'm going to go back to my terminal. I'm going to change directly to my Python example. And then I'm going to do Python, and I remember what my file name was actually, so I'm just going to list it. Right, prime, yep, cool. Python prime.py. All right, so it's asked me to enter a number. I'm going to enlist the help of the audience. What number do you want me to use? 0? All right, fine. The crowd demands it. All right, it's not a prime number. You got what you want. Another number?
30.
All right, cool. 5? 5? All right.
No, not by
Pi. You didn't break the program. It's not an integer anyway. 31. All right, so it is a prime number. So it does work. It does check in and bug free. All right, so anyone has difficulty starting a Python or installing it? All right. My biggest fear.
How do you stop the
Yeah, did you restart restarting? Restart Commander once you install it. Oh, from before, and then Node as well? All right, I'll debug it later. Yeah, sorry about that. All right, so move on to the really cool, funky stuff that you came here for, Pascal. All right, so I'm going to invite Alistair up here. He's our functional programming dude. And then he's going to be explaining what Pascal is. It's a really cool functional programming language. If you guys are going to get into research or you're going to get into academia, Pascal is kind of the language for that. However, Pascal's been getting more and more uses, and certain companies are as a side note, to detract. If you know very small used languages like Erlang or Haskell or Go, what tends to happen is that specialty programmers tend to be able to get a higher salary for those languages. So if you know Go, you can spend your life as a back-end engineer, and I'm pretty sure it's around $90,000 a year for a Go developer. Haskell is different, and also So Erlang, if you guys use WhatsApp, Erlang is a programming language that is basically built off of a telecom protocol. So it can handle a bunch of connections all at once. And then if something wrong happens, the whole application doesn't break. So that's really cool. He's going to load up the Haskell example and going to explain what it is. Alistair, you have the floor.
Let me just open it up. Crap. Do I have it? Oh no, it's images.
Misspelled GitHub. I'm actually kind of scared of what happens when Git who. Yes.
Okay. We're just loading a quick Haskell example here. I'm just having a problem with the browser, so give me a second.
I'm gonna have an example.
Huh? Oh, you do have an
Yeah,
example?
yeah.
Okay.
Haskell example. Just switch desktops. No, switch. No, other side.
Oh.
Yeah, there.
Okay. Wow. No. No.
So this is Haskell. The main thing about Haskell is, unlike object-oriented programming languages like Java, where you create a class and that class, you're mutating the state of that class. In Haskell, it's all about creating functions, passing a certain type of an object within a function, and then expecting a certain type of object to come out of that function. So like an example here is you have a plus function on the first line as an example. You have what's called a type signature on the first line and the actual function definition on the second line. And if you actually kind of debunk this down, what the type signature is saying is that I'm accepting two integer type objects, this one and this one, and I'm going to be returning as a result one integer object. If you think about that, that makes sense. A plus operator accepts two numbers, right? 1 plus 1, 2 plus 5. It accepts two integers. And when I add two integers together, I don't expect a random float to come out. I expect an integer. So that's what that is saying. You have more complicated examples on line 4. So on line 4, instead of being able to accept only two integers, it can actually accept three integers and spit out one integer object as a result. The cool thing about Haskell is there's a concept called currying, where you can keep accepting arguments and arguments and arguments. If your argument is not satisfied, let's say I call plus plus with only two arguments, but plus plus accepts three arguments. Haskell is smart enough to say, okay, you haven't passed me that last argument, that last parameter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to instead pass you a function as a result. You can pass in your final argument in that function that I'm returning to you. And once you activate that function with the final result, it'll give you the answer. The other kind of cool stuff that Haskell has good uses for is if you want to do a lot of machine learning, work on a lot of data that is on a matrix or on a vector or an array, Haskell shines really well on that. Haskell also shines on a lot of pattern matching. So if my data kind of looks like this, I have an integer that's less than 10 on my first index, and on my third index, I have an integer greater than 50. Or I have a string that's starting with this substring or ending with this substring. Or you have a program that you kind of want to run on a multi-core processor, but you don't necessarily want to handle things like mutex locks or complicated multi-threading, multi-processing primitives like that. Haskell easifies all of that for you. So if you want to do a lot of multi-core programming, Haskell is really good for that. The only kind of gotcha with Haskell is that it's a move away from a lot of the languages that we're accustomed to, because we're accustomed to like C-based languages, you know. languages that have if statements, while loops, classes, and things like that. But with Haskell, you have a completely different way of thinking around things.
Where's Angela? Oh. Does anyone have any question with Haskell? We're going over very.
We have to tell them to install it.
Oh,
So
okay.
in order to install Haskell, you go to haskell.org/platform. And you're going to want to install the small platform, the minified platform. You don't want to install like 2 gigabytes of Haskell stuff. You only want the 100 megabyte package. And similar, so you're going to start to see a trend here. So you can run your Python and your Node applications just by invoking the compiler. Same thing for Haskell. So most programming applications have a runtime that you use. So as you slowly get deeper into the rabbit hole, like your command line interfaces to make mobile applications, all of it is basically the same. So once you kind of learned one, you can apply the same skills to every single language. So it becomes, you start seeing the patterns. So if you notice that what we did in JavaScript is very similar to what I might do in Python, it also might be very similar if you're working in Clojure and Haskell, because programming languages within the same family work the same way. It's just differences of syntax. And once you realize that, nothing can stop you in terms of learning a new language. So I want you to download the platform. It's going to be slightly weirder, because usually it's like all wrapped in one. Haskell does it slightly differently. And then for Mac, you just drag it to your application. What it does is it installs the Glasgow Haskell compiler, and that's their own runtime for Haskell applications. It's made so that you can write highly concurrent applications. So in English, you have a lot of cores on your computer, mostly for dual core. However, most programming languages only utilize one thread, which basically one thread goes to one core. Whenever you want to start scaling your users, or you want to start making the things faster, because it's one thing to have 100,000 users, it's another thing to have 1 million users. And one day you guys are going to be making applications that are going to serve those needs. Haskell and Go and different languages are able to utilize your processing power on your computer much more efficiently.
And think about it in a server.
Yeah. Think about like a giant server rack. You have a bunch of bare metal you got to use. So why are you generating heat for nothing?
Even in a multi-server environment, if you kind of want to abstract this more, the more you get accustomed with multi-core programming, even though it's kind of tricky to begin with, the more you go into more complicated stuff like multi-server programming, where you want to use the full power of like 10 servers together. If you know multi-core programming, multi-server programming is basically the exact same thing. Languages like Haskell would kind of abstracting out these 5-10 servers together, and you can run whatever program you want to run across these 10 servers. Granted, you do it on you program your program in a multi-programming, multi-core way.
Yeah, you get to that point where it kind of just comes naturally, but we gotta first get there. Awesome. Let's see. All right, and then you can run that application on your computer by doing the following command. So we're gonna go back to my terminal. Right. Oh yeah, cool.
So Control-C.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Why is it not exiting? Control-C. Okay. So GXC.
No, I actually have a function. Yeah, the Haskell compiler actually has like you know how we just did Node and then we ran the file, and we did Python and we ran the file. Haskell actually has allows you to run like single file Haskell really easily, similar to how we just did it before. So we're going to change directory into our Haskell example. All right, so we have nobugs.hs. And I'm going to check my documentation because I don't really remember it right now. It's really useful. That's why you write notes for yourself. So whoever wrote this is very helpful. So I just do run Haskell space nobugs.hs. As you're programming and as you're downloading other people's code, There will be documentations like these to help you out in your own projects. It's prime.py if you want to make it run. Yeah, you have to put the file ending.
Oh, just the file, but not.
All right, so you do Python space prime.py.
I'll just hit tab when ready.
Yeah, or you can, it auto completes too. But sometimes, like, let's say if you have like multiple files, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get into no bugs. All right, and it's going to run, and it works. So 1 plus 2, we can confirm it's 3. 1 plus 2 plus 3, we can confirm it's 6. I don't remember any revisions to math lately that might make that not true. So that's Haskell working. And you guys have 3 applications you can run on your own. So the workshop is technically done. However, your journey isn't. You continue discussion on Slack. If you do not have Slack installed on your laptop, please install it. Go to slack.com/downloads and join FIU Tech. We have our own Slack channels, and we're on there nearly all the time. We're here to answer any questions that you may have in your programming journey, or if you have unrelated questions like, how do I make a mobile application? I want to work for Facebook. How do I do that? Any sort of questions, we're here for you to answer them. And if you go to fiutech.com, you have an invitation to that Slack team. And you can actually join us and continue your journey. One thing I like to add, programming is a hobby and a passion, at least for me. But in order to make it apply for you, you have to program on your free time and work on projects like these so you actually increase your proficiency. When you start playing around with things on your own, you kind of learn different quirks and stuff of things around you, and it just furthers your knowledge. I've noticed, especially when I go to hackathons and I play around with different concepts and stuff like that, you can too, and it's not as hard as people like to make it out to be. So if you go on our Slack channel, we're always here to ready and willing to talk. Thank you guys for coming out here. I hope you guys learned something new. Thank you. Oh, and any questions in general, if you guys might want to have any. Oh, yeah,
I thought you guys were gonna do Docker.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyone who was expecting Docker, it was kind of going to get too complicated, so we kind of avoided that. But if you guys want that, just let us know. We can slide that in a workshop.
And we also might have a Docker workshop.
Yeah, because Docker and deployment is a whole other topic.
Yeah.
We felt that it would be better if we fleshed out like release of applications in a separate one. I mean, we can talk about it now though.
Yeah, so Docker, on an abstract sense, the cool thing with Docker is that imagine a really light virtual machine. A lot of industries and companies actually use Docker to containerize. Imagine specifying in a file, I want my server to have this operating system with these apt-get installations and these certain programs installed on it. That's what Docker allows you to do. But instead of spinning up a very expensive virtual machine,